Hi guys, welcome to another video. This video is part of the beginner section, it's part 4, and today we're going to be looking at leader material. So in the last video we looked at lines, today we're going to be looking at leader material or tippets. This is the business end, if you like, of your cast, and I know there's a lot to choose from, and when you first come into the sport it's difficult to know exactly what you should be using, so we're going to try and rectify that today. So we have two main branches of tippet material that we use on the Stillwater. One is copolymer or monofilament, which is normally associated with dry fly fishing. I'm going to actually speak about this in more detail in another video because it's another branch to the sport completely and the techniques differ. And I will let you know the benefits between this and your other alternative. The mainstay of most Stillwater anglers' tippet material is going to be fluorocarbon. It's the most popular and it is the go-to. Now, I'm not one for mincing my words, so I'm not going to beat about the bush and I won't overcomplicate things. Basically, in fluorocarbon, you're going to be using 6 pound, 8 pound or 10 pound. 6 pound and 8 pound for small Stillwaters is absolutely perfect. 10 pound tends to be used more on the reservoirs where there's some quite fit stockfish, resident fish, and they do tend to fight quite hard. Competition anglers tend to prefer 10 pound and even sometimes go up to 12 pound fluorocarbon. For the purpose of this piece of information, I would stick to 6 and 8 pound. 6 pound fluorocarbon is best to use for nymphing and buzzer fishing, and 8 pound is better used for lure fishing when you're pulling lures and you expect to get takes that are quite savage. It just cushions the blow. Also, something that's worth noting, some Stillwaters do have a minimum break and strain restriction on fluorocarbon. For example, some fisheries may not let you use anything under 8 pound, and so you must adhere to their rules. This is normally because they don't want fish getting snapped off and trailing a whole leader with flies around the lake. It's not good for the fish, especially if you're not on barbless, which, to be honest, these days I think most people should be. But it also just makes a mess, and it's breaking off your line just isn't a good thing. I would advise for beginners with the fluorocarbon to start off with something around 10 foot as a leader with single fly, and as you become more adept at casting and more used to the length of the leader, you can either increase that and also increase how many flies you have on the leader as well. But to start off with, to keep things simple, stick to a 10-12 foot leader, one fly on the point. When you do come more accustomed to the longer leaders, you can then fish multiple flies. And then just a quick tip, if you're fishing 2 flies and the water is very dark, first of all I would suggest dark patterns, believe it or not, but secondly I would put your fly spacing close together. So say if you're fishing a 12 foot leader of fluorocarbon, I would put the flies at 5 foot intervals so that they're quite close, sometimes even as close as 3 foot apart, because in those murky conditions the trout find it more difficult to spot the flies, and if you're fishing 2 flies and they're too far apart, the fish will only see 1 fly. There's a chance it may miss your second, so keep the spacings small and together. On a tough day in clear water conditions, I would spread the flies out much further than 3 foot. So basically, if you fished a 12 foot leader, fish your flies 6 foot apart. Those fish may have seen a lot of flies already and may be very wary of taking anything, so the further apart you have the flies, the more beneficial it is to you. Another quick tip I can give you, if you're fishing on a particularly difficult day and the fish aren't really responsive, you can change the diameter of your fluorocarbon, and this is actually possible without dropping the break and strain of the line. Just in this example, this line here is 6 pound, but it's 0.18 millimeter. This line here is 6 pound, but this is 0.165 millimeter. Now that might not seem much of a difference, but I can tell you in all sincerity, on a day, this line, the lower diameter, has actually helped me catch fish, whereas I couldn't get a fish on this. Now basically, the lower diameter is going to help your presentation, it's going to let the fly look a little bit more natural, and these little differences are what make a good day from a bad day, and it's happened many times before. And I wouldn't say it's not just something that I would make up, it actually does work. Sometimes dropping the diameter of your line can get you some takes, whereas you may get no interest with a slightly thicker line. At this point, I would just like to say there are many makes of fluorocarbon on the market. The main ones that I use, and I'm not endorsed by any lines at all, although if any companies feel like sending me some fluorocarbon to try, I'll be more than happy. That'd be fantastic. Anyway, so I use Airflow, I use Site Free, I use Segur, which is one of my favourite lines, but I will warn you, this comes in at something like £23-24 for 100 metres, which is quite expensive. I use the Rio Fluoroflex, which is quite an old line, but I've still got some of it and it's really good. Obviously, Full and Mill, it's pretty popular. This is a line I would recommend to go and buy at the moment. Being a beginner, go for Full and Mill. It's quite reliable, good line. And for bulk and a little less expense, the Trilene, really good. 200 yard spool there, and I think I paid about £8 for this. So this is going to last you a long time. So this is one that I would definitely recommend. And I would also just go for £6 at the moment. You can still pull lures on £6 fluorocarbon. You will learn from your mistakes. If you start getting snapped off and it's not your knots, if the line's snapping, change fluorocarbon and find what suits you. So I hope that's been helpful in some way. It's just a very quick video. There is a lot more to discuss, but I don't want to baffle beginners with any sciences. I think straightforward talking is always the best option. Keep things nice and simple. The next video we'll be doing will be the business end, as I call it, and that's going to be flies, fly selection, and what you should be using on the Stillwaters, what you need to have in your box. Aim of this is to get you out there and get you catching fish fairly quickly, because I can guarantee as soon as you start catching fish regularly, you will become more confident and you'll enjoy the sport even more. So thanks again. Thank you very much for watching the videos. I do appreciate it. I'm sorry if sometimes I'll waffle on a little bit. I kind of get lost in myself. But if there's anything that you would like me to cover, I'm more than happy to do that or give it a try. I will be out fishing this week, hopefully, so I will be releasing a fishing video and hopefully try some different methods so you can have a look and get them into your armoury too. But thank you very much, and tight lines, stay safe.